The Data Breach Register serves as a centralized database where organizations are required to report incidents involving the unauthorized access, disclosure, or loss of personal information. Why organizations need a data breach register? Mandatory reporting. Organizations must promptly notify the Nigeria Data Protection Commission and affected individuals in the event of a data breach. This ensures swift action to mitigate risks and safeguard personal information. Detailed records. The register maintains detailed records of reported breaches, including the nature of the incident, the type of data compromised, and the remedial actions taken by the organization. Compliance and enforcement. Non-compliance with data breach reporting requirements can result in significant penalties and reputation damage for organizations. The register helps enforce regulatory standards and promotes a culture of data protection. Here is a step-by-step guide on how to use the Data Breach Documentation Register. About the organization. Fill the name of the organization. Fill the registration number issued by the Corporate Affairs Commission. Fill the location where the organization is physically situated or conducts its operations. Fill the official email address of the organization. From the list below, pick the most appropriate based on the nature of your core business activity. Data Protection Officer. Fill the name of the designated Data Protection Officer. Fill the email address of the Data Protection Officer. Fill the phone number of the Data Protection Officer. Fill the Data Protection Officer's acquired data protection privacy certifications. Details of data breach. A unique number that indicates where in the register a data breach is reported and documented. A unique identification number or code assigned to each documented data breach. Specify the exact date and time the data breach occurred if known. Specify the exact date and time the data breach was discovered. Provide the number of data subjects affected. If the number is not known, give an approximate number. Description of breach. Explain the process by which a security breach resulted in the unintentional or deliberate loss, alteration, disclosure, or access to personal data. Measures taken or to be taken. Did you inform all individuals affected? Indicate yes or no. List other regulators informed. When did you first notify the NDPC of the data breach? If yes, indicate the date and time. Remedial action. Kindly state the remedial action taken. To place an order, kindly visit dataprotectionacademy.com NGSOR or call 0816 82444.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to today's training focused on helping the Chief Information Security Officers understand their role as regards the cybersecurity framework issued by the CBN. I'm Daniel Uba, your facilitator for today's training. So let's get started. In today's training, we'll be talking about the Information Security Steering Committee, the selection process for members of the committee, the responsibilities of the committee members, the frequency of the Information Security Steering Committee meetings, the meeting agenda, password policy, incident response policy and procedure, and we'll also have quiz to evaluate our understanding of today's training. So what's the Information Security Steering Committee all about? The Information Security Steering Committee play a crucial role in helping organizations, especially the financial institutions, meet up with CBN requirements as regards compliance. The committee also helps management understand the cybersecurity posture of the financial institution. And based on the framework issued by the CBN, there are certain responsibilities and requirements for members of the committee. So, For the risk-based cybersecurity framework issued by the CBN, every OFI, that is, other financial institutions, with more than 30 employees will be mandated to have an information security steering committee. So if you operate in the financial space and you have more than 30 employees and you are categorized under the OFI subsector, you should have an information security steering committee. It is mandatory. Now, for unit tier 2 MFBs, you can also have what we call the information technology steering committee. The committee also play the same role as the information security steering committee, but because you operate most likely in a remote area, the tendency of you having up to 30 employees may not be feasible based on CBN data. So you are expected to have the information technology steering committee. And for OFIs that have less than 30 employees, you can delegate the responsibility of the information security steering committee to maybe the risk management committee, because CBN will be coming to do their due diligence, and it is expected that over a period of time you have meetings as regards the information security posture of the organization, and the CISO is expected to share this meeting. So you are supposed to have meeting agendas, reports after the meeting, so that when they come for their due diligence, you can show them your books that you've been having this meeting, you've nominated members into the committee, and these are the resolutions, observations, recommendations the committee have sent to the management over a period of time. So for employees that have knowledge on cybersecurity, legal, finance, that work with OFIs, you can co-opt them into this committee. But we also need to look at what are the job roles and responsibility of the committee members. So now, when you want to set up this committee, there has to be a selection process. This starts with nomination. So it is expected that senior representatives from relevant departments are nominated into this committee. So you don't just bring anybody. This person should have some form of experience and should be a senior representative. So the CISO will head the committee. However, members of the committee will be nominated from different departments, which we'll discuss. Now, it is also expected that the executive leadership of the organization approves the selection of the committee members. Take, for instance, the HR department nominates. The executive leadership of the organization can say, okay, this person you've nominated have other job roles. Why not we look at somebody whose job schedule is not that much so that the person can be effective? So the fact that departments are to nominate, the management of the OFI also have a role to play in terms of giving approval. Now, members of the committee must have relevant experience, either in IT, compliance, risk management, customer feedback resolution, business operation, so that different knowledge can be used in advising management on what to do in terms of the compliance and the risk of the OFI. And something else you need to understand is that you also have to put in term limits so that the committee members can be changed over a period of time so that new ideas can come in. So you can say, for example, we are going to be using 2 years for any person that we nominate will serve for 2 years, or you can say 4 years, depending on your organization. But the essence of having term limits is so that fresh ideas can come in and you avoid stagnation. Then, in terms of training, it is good that upon nomination, that the OFI send members for training so they can understand their job role, they can understand information security, and they can bring this experience when they have their meetings. So when you nominate people for this committee, you also need to send them for training, because Probably they already have experience in IT, but maybe they don't have other relevant experience, maybe communication skill. So you send them for a formalized training so that they have the experience to function in this committee, because this information security steering committee is very, very mandatory for every OFI. And as a chief information security officer, your success depends on the people that are nominated as committee members. You will be sharing this committee, but you also need people with like minds, people who are sound in IT, people who are sound in legal, people who are sound in accounting, so that you have less stress when discharging your duties. So in terms of representation, the committee should have representative from key departments and business units so that we can have diverse experience. So let's take, for instance, the information technology department. They are in charge of the technical aspect of the organization. So in terms of adopting technology, in terms of network security, system administration, they handle that. So a staff from IT should be part of the information security steering committee aside the CISO. You know, the CISO is coming from IT, but he also needs somebody to help him from IT so that it's not a job that will be overwhelming for him. So IT is expected to nominate one person to serve in this committee. Now, we also have organizations who are resilient enough to have um, cybersecurity department different from IT. So the cybersecurity department, if it's available in your OFI, will understand the digital threats and how the digital assets the organization have over a period of time will be exposed to different types of risk. So the cybersecurity department is also expected to nominate somebody. And don't forget, whoever you're nominating must be a senior representative from the OFI. It mustn't be the head of the department, because the head of the department will have other responsibilities that will not make him perform effectively. So whoever you're nominating should have experience. The job schedule of the person should not be too overwhelming that the person will be absent from meetings. Then internal audit also, they define the security metrics and validate compliance. So to some extent, you also need the internal audit to help in helping the organization understand how to validate compliance based on the framework. What have we achieved? What are we yet to achieve? So you also have the third party security vendors. Many of the OFI outsource their IT. So because you've outsourced your IT, you may really not have the technical know-how when you are experiencing either a phishing attack or ransomware attack. So you need to also co-opt your third-party vendor because they have more experience in terms of mitigating this kind of risk. So you have to also find a way to bring them on board so that they can form part of your information security steering committee. In such a case, a virtual meeting will be more appropriate when you want to bring in third-party security vendors so that they can also share their own wealth of experience with the committee. Then you also have the customer service department. The customer service department play a very critical role because they interact directly with the customers and they are the frontline ambassadors in terms of security awareness. Whenever a customer have issues, the first point of contact is the customer care department. So you need to bring them on board in the information security steering committee so they can help in communication. They can also help understand the pain your customers are facing. Take, for instance, customers are complaining about use of your mobile app, that it is not user friendly. When they are having the committee meeting, the customer care representative will come with that complaint and IT will find a way to resolve it. So customer care should be well represented. Then we also have the risk management department. Don't forget that for OFIs with less than 30 employees, the CBN has said the risk management department can handle it, or the risk management committee can handle it, because you may not have as much staff strength to form a committee. Most likely you have 10 to 15 staff. So forming a committee may be difficult. So for Unit Tier 2 MFBs and OFIs with less than 30 employees, the risk department come into play. And the reason why the CBN decided to go with the risk department is because they understand the risk, and they can also help in mitigating this risk because they understand the risk the bank face or the institution face. So you also have to have them on board in the committee. We also have the legal department. The legal department is very key also. The legal department will help the institution understand the relevant laws and regulations, including industry standards that the institution should adhere to. So bring the legal department into the committee so that if you have any litigation, they can also be able to understand how to help the institution go around it. HR department also have to be represented because they work directly with the employees. They will also help in informing employees of relevant trainings and also in disseminating the security policies to employees, because some policies should be internal. So the human resource department will have the emails of every employee so they can push out these policies to them so they can understand it. So the HR department is very relevant because they have direct contact with employees. When you onboard employees and when you offboard them, HR department is very relevant. Then finance department, because you need budget to run the information security steering committee, you need budget to make your institution resilient. If finance is not carried along, it is very, very likely that you may find it difficult to lobby management to adopt technology that will incur costs. So you need to get finance to understand how relevant cybersecurity is and why they should be brand ambassadors of information security within the institution. So don't leave finance out of it. Then we also have the operations department. The operations department carry out the day-to-day business operation. So they also understand the risk of the institution. So a as threat emerges, the operation department are in the picture. So you also need that wealth of experience from them so that whenever the committee have meetings, they can also bring their wealth of experience. And that will also help the executive leadership take decisions because they understand that if operations is taking this position, then we also have to take that position because operation plays a key role in many of the OFIs. So for the executive leadership, they will also drive the information security technology adoption and also demonstrate commitment in terms of enforcing employees to adopt resolution by the committee and also make sure that the customers get value for banking with the institution in terms of making sure there's new technology and whatever technology is obsolete, provisions are made in terms of budget to get them updated. So whenever you are setting up this committee, you need to look at these relevant departments and nominate people from this relevant department. People you should nominate should be senior representative based on the guideline issued by CBN, and the board should also give approval. So when the department nominates, you send the name to the board for them to give approval. And any person that is nominated should be given a form of appointment letter, and there should be a term limit. Your institution can decide either 2 years or 4 years, but whatever you feel works for you. But the essence of making it term based is because you need fresh ideas, you need new people to come on board so that your committee can have set of ideas that are relevant. Because if you keep using the same people in the Information Security Steering Committee over a period of time, the meeting will just be copy and paste. You understand? So try as much as possible to have term limit for committee members so that new ideas can come in. So let us look at the responsibilities of the Information Security Steering Committee. Take, for instance, an institution has nominated members of the committee. So what will be their responsibilities? First of all, they are to develop and review the information security policies of the organization. The consultant can draft policies, but it's the Information Security Steering Committee that will look at this policy and see if it is applicable to the institution and what will be the challenges implementing this policy. So the committee will look at all the policies that have been developed and see if it is relevant to the institution, and where need be, they can add their own idea to that policy so that it can reflect the reality within that institution. The next thing the committee will be looking at is the risk management. They have to identify the risk of the institution. They also need to prioritize the remediation of risk, because every risk you have within your institution, most likely you will need funds to remediate it. So it is the Information Security Steering Committee that will look at it and say, okay, based on what we've seen, we have to prioritize ABC or XYZ so that customers will not have a need to complain of cyber threats related issues. Then in terms of compliance oversight, the committee will look at the industry standards. Take, for instance, the PCI DSS, the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, the Nigeria Data Protection Act, Information Security Management systems, the ISO 2701. They will look at all these information security standards, industry regulations, and see what the institution should adopt and comply with. So from time to time, the committee members should always be updated with emerging laws and regulations emanating from either the Security and Exchange Commission, the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Nigeria Data Protection Commission, so that the institution is not found wanting in any way. Then you also have incident response planning. The CBN has a Paperlite application whereby you document every cyber attack within a 24-hour period. So the Information Security Steering Committee will also discuss issues like this when they have meetings. How many threats have they experienced? How many have they documented? How many have they reported? What is the feedback from the central bank? So that they can advise management appropriately. Also, in terms of budget oversight, the committee will also approve budgets, review budgets, and send this to the board of directors for their final approval. Because the committee will also have needs in terms of training, in terms of technology adoption. So when they prepare their budget, they will send it to management to look at it and give approval. Then they will also give out performance metrics to management in terms of technology adoption, in terms of risk exposure, in terms of compliance, in terms of training and capacity building. So all these metrics, they are to develop it and report to the top management. Then training and awareness. They also need to look at relevant trainings that employees should know, relevant trainings that third-party vendors should be aware of, and also have a strategic plan for the institution. Now, we are going to go to the frequency of the Information Security Steering Committee meetings. Now, one thing you should take from this is every institution, based on the report submission that was carried out March 31st, you now have your inherent risk. So some institutions are classified as least, some are classified as minimal, some are classified as moderate, some are classified as significant, some are classified as most inherent, depending on what you've adopted in terms of technology and the number of employees you have, the number of POS terminals you have, the number of internet service providers you make use of. So all these indicators classified you either as a least inherent or most inherent risk institution. But for emphasis purpose, the least inherent risk are for institutions that make use of limited technology. They have not fully adopted technology to its fullness. Then the moderate are institutions that make use of technology but most likely outsource majority of their technology need. Then the significant are institutions that offer high risk products. Most likely their customers can open account online, you understand. And to some extent, they make use of third party for most of this integration. They have APIs they share with Remitter, with NIBS, with InterSwitch. Then the most inherent, they have high risk in terms of the exposure of their products. You understand? They have applications that are on Play Store. They have applications that they use to onboard customers. So their technology adoption is very high. So the tendency of them experiencing a cyber attack is more. However, if they have adequate measures in place in terms of security measures and enough trained employees, they can mitigate this risk to a minimal level. So this frequency of information security meetings is not as if it's approved by CBN, but based on the type of data you process, it will be relevant that your meeting resonate with that. So an institution that is regarded as least would not need to have meetings every 2 weeks, because what you'll be discussing will not be too relevant in terms of what you are exposed to compared to an institution that is most inherent. So a least inherent institution can have their meetings every 4 months, because within a period of 4 months, you may not experience much cyber threat because you don't use technology that much. A minimal inherent risk institutions can also have their meetings every 3 months, because most likely what you will be seeing will be still not that high in terms of cyber threat, cyber attack, because the committee has to have relevant things to discuss in their meetings. They can't just come for meetings and be talking. They have to be positions they are taking, recommendations they are making to management. So minimal inherent risk institution can have their meetings every 3 months, so that within a period of 90 days, they can have something tangible to discuss. However, you can decide to choose how you want to have your meetings within your institution. Then for moderate inherent risk, because you will be more exposed to cyber threat, it is more likely that you meet often, every 2 months, so that if there's any challenge that you are experiencing, it can be resolved fast so that people don't exploit it. For significant inherent risk, you have to meet every month because you've adopted technology. You have so much to solve in terms of cyber threat, and you have also to make sure that management adopt your recommendations in terms of technology acquisition, training, and capacity building. So you have to meet often. Then, for the most inherent risk institutions, most likely you have to meet every 2 weeks. So I'm going to be sharing a a meeting agenda. So when you are meeting, what are those things you should discuss so that your meeting can flow with what CBN wants? So let's discuss what your meeting agenda should look like. So this is a sample meeting agenda. You can also have to do yours the way you want it, but this will give you a guide, like a starting point on how your meeting agenda should flow. So your meeting agenda will have a date, it will have a time and a location. It is not necessary that your meeting will be physical, because you need your third party vendors to also come in as committee members. You may decide to adopt virtual meeting. It is allowed. So if you are adopting virtual meeting, you can always put the meeting link on your training report, because when CBN come, they may ask you for your meeting agenda over a period of time. You can just print it out and hand it over to their officials. So you put the meeting ID if you're having a virtual meeting. If it's a physical meeting, you can just put boardroom or the CISO office. But always remember, irrespective of the committee members, the CISO will be the head of the committee. So in most institutions, a member of the board of directors may be part of the Information Security Steering Committee. That doesn't mean that that member will head the meeting. The meeting will be headed by the CISO. That is what CBN has approved. So if a board member is a member of the Information Security Steering Committee, the CISO still remains the head of the committee, at least for that purpose. So now you have your welcome and introduction, where you have your opening remarks by the chairperson, who will be the CISO, and you can have your introductions. And if new members are coming into the committee, you can introduce them at that point. Then you move on to the review and approval of previous meeting minutes, where you review the minutes, you address any correction or modification, motion you want to adopt. Then you move over to the information security status update. So this is where it becomes a little bit technical. So you give a brief overview of the current state of information security. So for instance, you've submitted your audit report to the CBN. So you can discuss it. We submitted our risk-based cybersecurity report to the CBN. And based on that, we are classified as a least inherent risk institution. So these are the kind of updates you put in your meeting. Then, did you experience any incident, any data breach, any cyber attack? This is where you now discuss it, and you give a summary of the ongoing security initiative. Maybe you're adopting a new software, you want to launch your new app. This is where you now discuss issues like this. Then you now go to compliance and regulatory updates. Is there any compliance that the institution is yet to comply with? Take, for instance, submission of your data audit report, registration on the NDPC portal. You discuss all these things. If you are yet to submit your tax for the year, all this regulatory compliance, you discuss it that are relevant with the Information Security Steering Committee responsibilities. So you discuss the relevant regulations and compliance standards that you need to meet. Maybe CBN issued out a new guideline. This is where you now discuss it. So you now see that the committee members will have agenda to discuss that are relevant and will help the institution mitigate cyber threats. Then other compliance status of the organization or gaps you see in the organization in terms of compliance. They've not complied with a particular memo that is emanating from your regulator. You discuss it. How it will affect the information security of the organization. You also discuss it. Then you go to the risk management findings. What are the risks IT have discovered? What are the risks customers complain to in the customer care help desk? So all these risks findings, you discuss it. And what are the potential mitigation strategies? And how do you want to resolve this risk? That is the risk treatment plan. You also discuss it. Then security awareness. What is our training curriculum? How are we going to make sure that more employees are trained and knowledgeable about cybersecurity? You discuss it under the security awareness and training. Have you trained staff? The new employees that were onboarded, have they gone through any information security steering committee awareness training? Have they been trained on data breach? So all these things that are relevant to them understanding security awareness? Do they know our official website in case they receive a mail that looks like a cloned mail? Will they click on it? All these things, you discuss it in terms of initiative. Our customers, how do we enlighten them so that they don't share their password with strangers? They don't share their PIN with strangers. So this is where you discuss issues like this. Then the incident response and business continuity plan. You discuss any improvement or adjustment needed in terms of your incident response, your disaster recovery plan, so that the CBN officials, when they come in and look at your books, they will understand that you are doing the right thing, that you are discussing relevant things within the meeting of the ISSC. Then your metrics and performance. This is where you look at trends, you look at what have you complied with, how does it relate with the requirement of the guideline. Then if there's any new thing you want to discuss, like emerging threats, maybe you saw a post on WhatsApp that you feel that committee members should know, you understand, or you discuss, okay, how can members know how to put two-factor authentication on their any new thing you want to just bring in that is still relevant to information security, you can discuss it there. Then actionable items, who is to do what, when is the next meeting, when are the deadlines for submitting reports, and all those things. You do it, then you can decide to adjourn the meeting and move on to other business of the day. So that is a sample meeting agenda, and you are supposed to have this handy. If you tell CBN that you usually hold meetings, there should also be an evidence, and that meeting agenda will form an evidence that yes, you actually have this committee. The committee is functional, the committee is operating, you understand, and the committee is meeting the key objectives. So those are things you should know. So the next thing you also need to know is that as an institution, you must also have your password policy, because the CBN, when they come, some of the policies they will be looking at will include your password policy, your cybersecurity training policy, which we discussed in module 1. But today we'll look at the password policy so that you can know how to draft a simple password policy, and the password policy will be applicable to your customers because they also have login credentials. It will also be applicable to employees because they also have login credentials. It will be applicable to your third-party vendors because most likely they also have password and username to access your system. So this password policy is very important, and it's good you have it. So just like the last module, you'll be given access to these policies so that you can easily adopt it in your institution. So we'll look at the password policy and what should be the component of the password policy. So the password policy is very simple. So first of all, you discuss the user obligation. What should users comply with? First of all, passwords should never be disclosed to other persons, including management and system administrators. Also, user-generated password must not be distributed through any channel, either written or electronic. You understand? For instance, you want to issue a new staff password and you write it on a piece of paper and give it to him. You understand? Or a customer comes in and you just give them their password in a paper for them to move. All those things should be prohibited. You understand? And they should always select strong password, at least 12 characters. One should be numeric, one should be uppercase, one may be lowercase. You also have special characters like the dollar sign, the @ symbol, the hash sign, and password must not be a dictionary word. All these are things that you will use your technology to solve. But CBN wants to see a paper documentation that, yes, you have done this. So this is where you now have the password policy. Now, the next thing is, what is the frequency for password to be changed? Is very important in your password policy. You can decide to make it every month, but that will not be feasible because people have other things to do. They can't be changing password every month. So a 90-day period is okay. You can decide to extend it for 180 days, but at least between 90 to 180 days is okay for passwords to be changed. Then whenever they log into your system for the first time, it's good that you force them to change their password. You understand? So these are controls you put in place, and these are things that the CBN wants to see that your password policy contains. Then in terms of user password management, each user may use his or her own uniquely allocated username, right? Because as an employee, you have your own username. So the case of people using the same username should not be feasible. Then each user must have the option to choose his or her own password. So it's not a case of giving every person a default password to go and use. So technology will solve all these things. But what CBN wants is that on paper, you have a documentation that says you have a password policy and you're implementing a password policy system that is in line with best practices. So you just have this policy handy. You understand? So when they come, do you have a password policy? Yes, I have a password policy. You can decide to put your logo on the top, the name of your institution on the top, so that it is resonating with your brand. But this is a simple password policy that you should have handy. So whenever CBN tells you they are coming to your institution, you don't need to be scared. You already know what to do and you already know what they will ask you for as far as the CBN risk-based cybersecurity framework is concerned. You already have the knowledge. So make sure you have your password policy handy so that when they ask for it, you can easily show them. But this password policy will be solved with your technology. So it's not something you should just put on paper. Your system should be able to make all these things automated. So let's take quiz and see how relevant today's training has been. Don't forget, we have a WhatsApp group where you have updates and information. So I'll drop the WhatsApp link if you want to get more information as regards the CBN framework. The WhatsApp group is the platform you can use to get those updates. And the slides will be shared just as we did the last time. So expect it over the weekend. You should have received your slides. If by Monday you've not received your slides, then you can reach out to our help desk and we'll send it to you. But over the weekend, every person should have gotten their slides. So let's take some quiz and see how today's training has moved on. If it's in line with what we should understand. So the first question is, what is the primary purpose of an information security steering committee? We have option A, option B, option C, and option D. So you can just drop on the chat box if it's option A, B, C, or D. What is the primary purpose of an information security steering committee? Option C. Thank you very much. And let's see. Option C is actually correct. Yes, to provide strategic direction and oversight for information security initiative. So the next question, what role do third-party security vendors typically play in the information security steering committee? We have option A, B, C, and D. Okay. Yes, option C is also correct. Advising on cybersecurity strategies and technology. How can customer service help maintain customer trust and reputation during security incidents? How can customer service help maintain customer trust and reputation during security incident? Okay, we also have option C. Okay, option C is also correct, by being transparent and providing timely updates. So OFIs with less than 30 employees can delegate the responsibilities of the Information Security Steering Committee to a relevant management committee, such as the committee charged with the responsibility with risk management. True or false? So can OFIs with less than 30 employees delegate the responsibilities of the ISSC to the risk management committee? Yes. True is correct. So now mention two responsibilities of the Information Security Steering Committee. Mention two responsibilities of the Information Security Steering Committee. So mention two responsibilities of the Information Security Steering Committee. Okay, policy development. Okay, providing information on security guidelines. Okay. Okay, policy development. Yes. Okay. 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 Discuss security threats. Also correct. Yes. So for everyone who has contributed, thank you so much. Compliance oversight. Yes. Thank you so much. So let's see the responsibilities. So we have policy development. They will develop and review information security policies, standard and procedures. Risk management, they will identify, assess, and prioritize information security risk. Compliance oversight, they ensure the organization comply with relevant regulations and industry standard. Incident response planning, they will develop and maintain plans for responding to security incidents. Budget oversight, they will review and approve budget for the information security initiative and investment. Performance monitoring, they will also monitor the effectiveness of the security controls through metrics and reporting. training and awareness, promote security awareness training program for employees, strategic planning, align information security effort with the organization overall security goal and objective. So thank you everyone. So I'll do a recap of what module 2 talks about. So module 2 focus more on the information security steering committee, and it is mandatory for every OFI with over 30 employees to have an information security steering committee. It is mandatory. The committee will also have meetings, and those meetings you have to also write the agenda and have a report of the meeting. So when the CBN come, you can easily show them that you've designated people as members of the committee, and they actually meet to discuss the information security risk of the organization. Also, for unit tier 2 MFBs, most likely you operate in a rural area. It may be difficult for you to have 30 employees based on CBN data. So, what they've decided is that you can have an information technology steering committee. Now, for OFIs that also have less than 30 employees, you can decide to delegate this job role of the Information Security Steering Committee to the Risk Management Department or the Risk Management Committee. That is okay. You won't be penalized. Also, you need to nominate people who are senior representative into the committee. And the leadership of the organization, the board of directors, have to give approval. And when you nominate people, there should be a formal letter given to them that they have been nominated and how long they will serve in that committee. Now, there is no law that says they can't serve for life. But in order for you to bring fresh ideas and new perspective, it's good you have a term limit. So you can decide to adopt 2 years, 4 years, or 5 years, depending on what your organization feels is comfortable with. But the essence of having term limit is so that the meeting doesn't become stagnated. You know, when you do the same thing over and over and over again, you get the same result. But when you bring in new ideas, you bring in new people, most likely you get a different result, which will be positive. Then also, once you nominate people into this committee, try to invest in them, send them for training. When you invest in your employees, you are investing in the institution because the customers will get better results. The board of directors will get more profit because when you send people for training, they come with new ideas and they will invest in the organization. So always send them for trainings so that they don't become stagnated. So you can also make it a policy that every committee members will go for training at least once a year. If you can make it twice, fine. But make sure they go for trainings so they can discharge their duties more effectively. And spread out membership of the committee in such a way that you have people from IT, people from cybersecurity department, people from internal audit, people from the customer service department. Also incorporate your third-party vendors into your committee. They can attend your meeting virtually. They don't need to come to your physical place. The reason is this: they have first-hand information in terms of emerging threats, so they can advise you on what to do. So try to co-opt your third-party vendors into the Information Security Steering Committee so that your discussions will be also relevant. Also, make sure that your legal department have representation so that if you have any litigation, you understand, they already understand cybersecurity and they also know what to do to mitigate some of all these litigations before they become a public knowledge, you understand. So the HR department too, you have to co-opt them. Finance, very key because they have the money. They can decide to spend or not to spend. So make sure you have somebody from finance. When the finance see the need for cybersecurity, they will also advise management to make the necessary investment. But if you don't carry finance along, you may not have the funds to carry out this committee role. Operations department is very key, you understand, and also make sure that the board of directors have someone representing them in the committee. So when they have their board meetings, cybersecurity is top on the agenda. So don't forget when you are nominating your committee members. We also discuss the responsibilities of the Information Security Steering Committee, which includes policy development, risk management, compliance oversight, incident response planning, budget oversight, performance monitoring, training and awareness, and strategic planning. And we also advise you on the frequency of the meetings. So when you want to have your meetings, you should make your meetings in a way that it is in line with what you do. So an organization that is highly exposed to risk cannot wait for every 4 months to have an information security steering committee, because it will put that organization at risk. Whereas an organization that is not really exposed to risk can decide to wait for 6 months or 4 months before they have their meeting. You understand? But the most important thing is that you have your meetings and you document it. You understand? So whenever the regulatory body comes in, there is evidence that you are doing the right thing. So we also had quizzes just to evaluate our knowledge. So with that being said, we have finished module 2. So in 2 weeks time, we'll have module 3. You understand? So you also get the invite. So this training will be for a period of 6 months. The reason is we are spreading out the training curriculum in a way and manner that it is convenient for the CISOs to understand what they have to do. So the key actionable item after today's training is that, one, if you've not set up your information security steering committee, you do that. You advise your management to do that. 2, you make sure that your meetings, you have a report that you document. And also your password policy, you have it handy, and make sure that your technology also have that implemented. So thank you very much for being with us all through. I will redrop the chat, the WhatsApp group. Please try to join the WhatsApp group to get first-hand information. And next training, we'll be looking at the certification courses that CISOs should go for. There are different certification courses. We'll discuss it extensively, the certification courses. So please join us in 2 weeks' time for that training, and stay safe and cybersecurity conscious. So we'll end today's training with our Data Protection Academy data breach register video. It is very important that as an institution, you document your data breaches. So this register is available. Just go through the video and you have all the information you need. Thank you.
Is more critical than ever before. But what happens when data breaches occur? The Data Breach Register serves as a centralized database where organizations are required to report incidents involving the unauthorized access, disclosure, or loss of personal information. Why organizations need a data breach register? Mandatory reporting. Organizations must promptly notify the Nigeria Data Protection Commission and affected individuals in the event of a data breach. This ensures swift action to mitigate risks and safeguard personal information. Detailed records. The register maintains detailed records of reported breaches, including the nature of the incident, the type of data compromised, and the remedial actions taken by the organization. Compliance and enforcement. Non-compliance with data breach reporting requirements can result in significant penalties and reputation damage for organizations. The register helps enforce regulatory standards and promotes a culture of data protection. Here is a step-by-step guide on how to use the Data Breach Documentation Register. About the organization. Fill the name of the organization. Fill the registration number issued by the Corporate Affairs Commission. Fill the location where the organization is physically situated or conducts its operations. Fill the official email address of the organization. From the list below, pick the most appropriate based on the nature of your core business activity. Data Protection Officer. Fill the name of the designated Data Protection Officer. Fill the email address of the Data Protection Officer. Fill the phone number of the Data Protection Officer. Fill the Data Protection Officer's acquired data protection privacy certifications. Details of data breach. A unique number that indicates where in the register a data breach is reported and documented. A unique identification number or code assigned to each documented data breach. Specify the exact date and time the data breach occurred if known. Specify the exact date and time the data breach was discovered. Provide the number of data subjects affected. If the number is not known, give an approximate number. Description of breach. Explain the process by which a security breach resulted in the unintentional or deliberate loss, alteration, disclosure, or access to personal data. Measures taken or to be taken. Did you inform all individuals affected? Indicate yes or no. List other regulators informed. When did you first notify the NDPC of the data breach? If yes, indicate the date and time. Remedial action. Kindly state the remedial action taken. To place an order, kindly visit dataprotectionacademy.com/NGStore or call 0816 82444